Tonight, police name the suspect of the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge. The BC community stripped down to raw emotion.
We're here for the victims of these kids and these families about these kids that lost their lives for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
We're getting a clearer picture of the two crime scenes and testimony from those who were near the school.
I don't know who all showed up here, but there were a lot of RCMP on the ground.
Plus, a glimmer of good news. A victim reported dead survives.
She is alive and was one of the two female victims that were airlifted to hospital.
But for the loved ones of 8 others gunned down, a message from an entire country.
The nation mourns with you. Canada stands by you.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault.
Thank you for joining us. We are learning more tonight about the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC, a community obviously still in agony, trying to make some sense of the violence that's delivered waves of shock and grief. Those emotions flowing from the town's mayor tonight as he thanked government officials for their rapid response.
It is so important when we see a tragedy like this, with young lives lost, families don't have their children coming home last night.
Politicians from all levels of government went to Tumbler Ridge tonight to meet with the families of victims and signal some unity. After police revealed some more details, they now say there are 8 victims, most of them children, revising downward the initial reports of 9. A testament, perhaps, to the chaos of responding to an active shooter at the local high school, one of 2 crime scenes in the town of around 2,500. Now, Tumbler Ridge, of course, is in BC's northeast, close to the Alberta border. At Tumbler Ridge Secondary, 7 were found dead, including the suspect. Several blocks away, 2 more victims at the suspect's family home. Ian is in Tumbler Ridge for us tonight. So, Ian, being there, I'm sure you're developing a pretty strong sense for how the community is coping.
Adrienne, to be in this town is to see close up what you and I heard from afar last night. This is, as you point out, a small town. This is, as we hear over and over again, a close-knit town, so small that everybody really does seem to know everybody else. And that means that today, everybody knows someone who not only was killed yesterday, and just imagine that high school behind me was the scene of those horrors, but they also knew the families of kids that did come home but still had to endure so much trauma. And the other thing you see when you stand in this town is that the downtown is so small, and that the RCMP detachment, the community health center, and the high school just so close. By the way, high school, it's grades 7 to 12. So many of the people who were killed here were young. There's a playground structure behind me, and it just speaks to just the age range of the people who were here. Okay, lots to get to this hour in our coverage, and some new details from investigators about how the shootings unfolded. Julia Wong begins our coverage with what we've learned, including the name of the suspect, the weapons that were found, and the intense torment this community is dealing with.
Chaotic moments at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in northern BC after a shooter opened fire Tuesday afternoon.
I'm seeing RCMP entering the building.
Police rushed to the scene.
I'm here at the school.
So did local journalist Trent Ernest, who filmed what unfolded.
A lot of emergency vehicles coming in from larger detachments. There were a lot of RCMP on the ground.
And just go as close as I can to the school to see what was going on.
For parents, an unbearable weight.
All I could hear was the alarm going off, and that was just devastating because I could talk to my girl, and I knew she was hiding.
When the all clear was given, students and staff were let out, and police made the grim discoveries inside. They found the suspect, 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, as well as 5 students and an adult educator shot dead. 2 victims were taken to hospital, one of them in critical condition according to BC's health ministry.
It's so hard to talk about right now because of the kids that we lost, and I've watched these kids grow up since preschool. I've seen them all right through soccer and hockey and whatever else. It's devastating to see what's going on with our kids right now.
RCMP say they recovered a long gun and a modified handgun.
Determining the origin of these firearms and what role they played in the shootings remains a significant part of the active and ongoing investigation.
Later, police discovered 2 bodies inside this house, the suspect's 39-year-old mother and 11-year-old stepbrother, a separate incident before the shooting at the school. As for why all of this happened,
it is something that we are certainly passionately pursuing, but it would be too early to speculate on motive at this time.
Julia, at that house where the shooter lived, where the murder spree began, a neighbor came by and told you the most harrowing of stories.
Yeah, she did. You know, she didn't want to be interviewed on camera, but she lives just 2 doors down from where that first shooting in that house happened. And she told me how she heard a cry for help. She and another neighbor ran over to the suspect's house, and inside they found those 2 bodies in that house. And how she described it was really quite harrowing. And she said that the sights that she saw, she can't unsee anymore. And everything that unfolded that day has really stuck with her. You know, she said it's really shattered her sense of safety and security. She never used to lock her door. And now she's left trying to figure out how to process all of this and try to explain it to her young daughter.
That level of trauma, of course, repeated so many times for the people who saw similar horrific scenes of the high school behind us. Julia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're also learning more about the victims tonight. CBC News has confirmed the identity of Van Rootselaar's mother. 39-year-old Jennifer Strang was among the 8 who were fatally shot. Brian Labby now with more on the lives lost and those seriously injured.
Devastation and heartbreak in Tumbler Ridge, BC, and so much sadness.
Knowing that there are parents out there, that their kids are not coming home, tears at me.
A steady stream of people stopping in at the town's only grocery store to buy flowers, to hug, to cry.
I'm sad because that first time this I know this Tumbler Ridge is such beautiful.
And now filled with anguish. RCMP say 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar fatally shot 8 people, including 2 family members.
The female adult victim is the mother of the suspect, and the youth male is the brother of the suspect, or stepbrother.
CBC has confirmed the identity of the shooter's mother, 39-year-old Jennifer Strang. She and the shooter's 11-year-old sibling were found dead inside the family home. 6 others were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, 3 12-year-old girls, and 2 boys aged 12 and 13. One of the victims was found in a stairwell, others in the school library, including a 39-year-old educator. Hans Fisher says his 14-year-old twin grandchildren, a boy and a girl, were in the school at the time of the shooting.
They were in lockdown. They were in from what I understand, a small room, very small closet by the sounds of it.
27 others in the school were injured, including 2 critically, a 12-year-old and a 19-year-old female. They were airlifted to hospitals outside the community. Grief counselors have been talking to people through the day.
There is deep, deep grief. There is some anger. There is just a sense of being overwhelmed.
At the town's library, the shock of what happened and the magnitude of the loss.
I can't help thinking that we're now up there with Uvalde and Sandy Hook, and you know, it's just, that's not right, and it's not right for Tumbler Ridge.
The library is a community hub, a vital link for people to grieve together.
Stay strong, keep going. This won't take us down. The mine closures haven't. This won't either. This will be harder. This will hurt more. But we'll make it.
And we are still working to confirm the identities of some of the other victims, but it has been a challenge just given the nature of their ages and, of course, the family's request for privacy as they try to make sense of this, if that is even possible. Just in the last hour, we heard from the mayor of Tumbler Ridge and the premier of BC. They attended a private vigil here, not far from the school here, and they were, talking about giving praise to one of the major employers in the area, a coal mine that gave more than 1,000 employees the day off today so they could be home with their families to grieve. And the premier also talking about 12-year-old Maya, who was shot here at the school. She was airlifted out and is now in hospital fighting for her life.
There was a moment on the stage when the speaker talked about Maya, who's in the hospital with her family right now, a young girl who's fighting for her life and just clinging to life right now. That moment for me is representative of the profound tragedy. A beautiful child who went to school, was full of joy and love.
This was a de facto day of mourning in Tumbler Ridge with the mine closed, with the vigil that was held not far from here a short time ago. But there's a province-wide day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. A provincial-wide day of mourning here in BC. The throne speech has been cancelled, and the three party leaders are going to be delivering speeches in the legislature dedicated to the people of Tumbler Ridge.
Brian Labby, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian.
That's it for us tonight here in Tumbler Ridge. Now back to Adrienne in Toronto.
Ian, thank you, and to the team on the ground there. Now, as we mentioned, authorities confirmed the identity of the suspect, 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar. Lindsay Duncombe has been looking into Jesse's background. Lindsay, tonight we heard the Premier facing some questions about the suspect.
Yeah, the very first question that David Eby faced at tonight's press conference, Adrienne, was about the suspect, Jesse Van Rootselaar's interaction with the medical health system here in British Columbia. The Premier said he had received a briefing on that matter and said that there would be many questions to answer in the coming days. Here's what we know. The RCMP say that there had been several mental health related calls to Jesse's home in recent years. The most recent was last May. Police say Jesse had been apprehended for assessment and follow-up related to mental health. The Globe and Mail is reporting Jesse had recently returned from receiving psychiatric care in Prince George and had previously set a fire in the family home. We know Jesse dropped out of school about 4 years ago. Police also told us Jesse began transitioning from male to female about 2 years before that.
We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly. It's too early to say whether that has any correlation in this investigation.
Police were asked if Jesse had been bullied, and officers don't know. And really, Adrienne, at this stage, there is very little official information about a possible motive here. Police haven't found a note or any communication from Jesse.
And so, Lindsay, what did you learn about the family's history with firearms?
Well, police say a couple of years ago, officers seized weapons from the home, but whoever owned them then successfully petitioned to get them back. Jesse had a firearms license, but it expired in 2024. The two weapons found at the scene, a long gun and a modified handgun, were not registered to Jesse. Looking at social media, there are pictures of what appears to be a young Jesse online posing with what appears to be a rifle. The family looks to have hunted. The mother's Facebook page linked to Jesse's YouTube page, saying it was about posts about hunting, self-reliance, and guns, and stuff Jesse liked to do.
Okay, thank you very much. That is Lindsay Duncombe in Vancouver. So we want to let you know there is free confidential mental health support available in BC. You can call 310-6789. Young people nationwide can contact Kids Help Phone at 1-800-668-6868. You can also text or go online. And of course, if you're in immediate mental health crisis, There is a number you can call, 988, across Canada. Well, flags across this country are flying at half-mast tonight. Leaders in Canada and around the world offering condolences to the Tumbler Ridge community. Ashley Burke shows us the messages of support.
The Prime Minister visibly shaken after one of the deadliest school shootings in Canadian history.
Parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers in Tumbler Ridge will wake up without someone they love. The nation mourns with you. Canada stands by you.
Canada, our home and native land.
In the House of Commons, a moment of silence for the victims in Tumbler Ridge.
To those families who have lost loved ones, this House mourns with you. To those who are recovering from injuries, this House prays for you. To the students, the teachers, the parents, every resident of Tumbler Ridge, all of Canada stands with you.
Party leaders coming together instead of squaring off.
No parent should ever have to fear that their child will not return home from school. No parent should ever bury their own child.
We're praying for the injured, the 12-year-old little girl fighting for her life in hospital.
Mark Carney says as Canada mourns, the world does too.
A number of world leaders who've reached out directly to me in solidarity and compassion. France, United Kingdom, His Majesty himself, Norway, Finland, India, United Arab Emirates, many others. The world is with you.
Carney says there will be questions in the days ahead about what happened and why, but today, he says, is for grieving and remembering together. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, no one's grieving and remembering more tonight than the families in Tumbler Ridge. I spoke with a dad, Dennis Campbell, whose daughter was at school and hid when the shooting unfolded. She's back home tonight. Earlier, we connected with Dennis, who is exhausted, shaken, and yet wanted to talk. Dennis, thank you for making time for us. And
Yeah, no worries.
I know that your number one concern is what people are also worried about, which is how's your daughter?
She's trying to cope. She's lost 4 of her friends, including one of her teammates for hockey.
Have you been able to have any conversations with her about what she went through?
She phoned me at 2:18 from school, telling me that there were shots fired. And right from then on, I was on flipping high alert, like unbelievable. And then I heard one teacher say, "No, it might be a hammer, it might be a hammer." And the call dropped. So I'm like, "My girl, what is going on?" I text her right back, and I already got my shoes and everything on. I'm already out the fucking door. With my wife and my oldest son. We all got, right now we are gone. And 30 seconds later, "Dad, it's shooting. That's a shooting. Don't come down here. Don't come down here." She's telling me, but by that time I was already 3/4 of the way there. And we circled the place once, and then we just went to the rec center, and we went and parked behind the rec center because that would be the closest place to get to the high school without interfering with anything at all. And then from 2:30 on to like almost 6 o'clock, it was tears and wondering what, when, and how our kids are going to get out of there and what's going on. And at this time, we had no idea there was any kids even killed.
You're behind the rec center. I would imagine other families are starting to show up around that
Yeah.
time.
I was probably one of the first ones there, me and my wife and my oldest boy. All I could hear was the alarm going off, and that was just devastating because I could talk to my girl, and I knew she was hiding. I knew she was in the gym with the grade 10s because she had come out of her classroom to go to the washroom. When the gunfire went off, she ran to the gym and went with the grade 10, 11 split, and they went and hid into the equipment room. And that's where they stayed until they got to come out.
So she's with a lot of kids who are older than she is. Were they alone in there? Was there a teacher with them?
One of the teachers were there, and he kept coming back. He'd calm the kids down, and he'd go check and make sure the door's locked and nothing else was happening, and come back and assure the kids that they were fine. And I was crying outside the school. I'll tell you that right now. I was in tears, and it's so hard to talk about right now because of the kids that we lost. And I've watched these kids grow up since preschool. I've seen them all right through soccer and hockey and whatever else. It's devastating to see what's going on with our kids right now. I give two shits about what the shooter is all about. I give two shits about that. I don't care. We're here for the victims of these kids and these families, about these kids that lost their lives for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Dennis,
And I'm sorry for crying, but this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life ever. And to coach my kids through this is going to be a difficult thing to do.
Dennis, you described that the timeline is like from 2:30. You got the call at like 2:18, then from 2:30, so quick. You booked it to that rec center.
Well, I live on top of the hill of the town, but seriously, it's only a minute drive to the school. Panicking, it's even less than that when you know there's kids involved that are in jeopardy. It's not even. I didn't even think it was real. I didn't even I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my daughter's mouth.
What sort of words, Dennis?
Dad, there's a shooting here. When she called me the first time, she said there was a shooting. And then her frickin' teacher said, it might be a hammer. You never know. It might be just this. It might be just that. They didn't even know that it was going on until it was too late. And there was already victims by the time it was done.
How did she find out it was over? Like, did the police go to the equipment room? Like, what happened there?
Well, they were in that equipment room for probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours. By the time the cops finally brought him out, and it was the SWAT that brought him out. There was 10. I do believe there's 10 of them that were going room to room and bringing out kids one room at a time. And my daughter was one of the last ones to come out.
That must have been exhausting and relieving all at once. How do you talk to your kids about this, Dennis?
I just let them talk to me for now. Let them go as what they need to do. I have nothing really to say, but I'm sorry. And how can I help you? And what do you need? What can I do for you right now, my girl? What can I help you with to soothe your pain? Like a little thing that is a bowl of soup or just a peck on the cheek is basically what I can give to my kid right now to condole her until she comes to me. I can't really push push her, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to push her buttons to make her cry and think about what she doesn't need to be doing or thinking about what's going on.
You're a good dad.
For us. It's hard for us right now. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to sit there and see my girl like this. But at the same time, what am I going to do? Push her and push her and push her? Not a chance. When she's ready to talk, she can talk. When she's ready to walk, she'll walk. Right? It's the way life goes.
I don't know if you feel it. I can't imagine you feel anything other than what's right in front of you. But there's a whole bunch of people in this country who are right there in their minds with you and are
I've been watching the news this morning, and it's amazing how our country can come together so fast.
Yeah.
Even the Ukraine president and coming from Europe and Team Canada and the Vancouver Canucks and the list goes on and on and on. We're getting support from everywhere around the world, and it's amazing to see and it's amazing to hear. But at the same time, I can't go out frickin' 5 minutes without crying about one of these kids that I know, or it's one of the things that they say, or a picture that I see of these fucking kids, man. It's insane.
It's terrible. I'm so sorry.
And it goes on and on and on. You know what I mean?
I know.
This is just the beginning of some fucking horrible fucking nightmare that our town's going through, and I'm sorry for being such a dick, but
This is the worst that can happen.
this is the worst thing that can happen to anybody in their whole entire life, and it's not even fair to anybody.
Yeah. Please go hug your daughter, okay? Thank you, sir.
Take care.
We have more ahead on the situation in Tumbler Ridge, BC, but we're also following some other stories tonight, including some fireworks in the U.S. Capitol.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi facing some tough questions on her handling of the Epstein file. We are back into. In Washington, some heated testimony today as a congressional committee grilled U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi about the Justice Department's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. As Katie Nicholson tells us, Bondi was defensive as House lawmakers pushed for some accountability.
Clear the hallway.
Like a prize fighter entering the ring.
Your message to the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
Attorney General Pam Bondi ready to go multiple rounds with the House Judiciary Committee.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
At times, it seemed more like a bad reality TV show than a congressional hearing.
I am reclaiming my time, and when I
will
reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady has
I'm
reclaimed
not
her
going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
But there were serious questions about the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
And questions from Republican Thomas Massey about the redactions made in the latest release of 3 million Epstein documents, which quickly devolved.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
The exchanges fast and testy.
You don't want to answer the
No,
question.
you don't get anything regarding public safety.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Thank you for the insult.
Bondi, as ever, defended her boss.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history.
As she did the last time she appeared before a congressional committee, Bondi would often turn the tables on the person asking the questions.
He represents New York. Wow. Yet he doesn't care about the illegal aliens convicted of crimes. Assault and homicide.
Time and again, House Democrats would try to turn the page.
But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is.
That may be, but by hearing's end, there were far more insults than answers. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu met privately at the White House today, but did not reach an agreement on how to proceed with Iran. Nuclear talks with Tehran are ongoing, and so is the tension in Iran. But as Margaret Evans shows us, the unrest was briefly overshadowed by government celebrations marking the Islamic Revolution.
Tehran, streets crowded not with protesters, but those celebrating the anniversary of the 1979 revolution and the birth of the Islamic Republic that followed. A month ago, the streets were full of those demanding its demise, until they were brutally put down. Thousands killed, security forces still arresting those accused of taking part. No reference to that from Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, addressing the crowds. There was an acknowledgement of what he called shortcomings. We in the government are making every effort to resolve all these problems, he said, by God's power and under the wise leadership of the Supreme Leader. Iran and the United States held indirect talks in Oman last week, an effort to de-escalate tensions over Iran's nuclear program. On Wednesday, the Israeli Prime Minister traveled to Washington to lobby Donald Trump for tough terms as the U.S. president contemplates another round of diplomacy versus military action.
As you know, we have a massive flotilla right now going over to Iran. We'll see what happens.
In Tehran, Regime supporters are wary. We've never had a good experience negotiating with someone who's wanted to destroy our country, said Zara Gaderi. There were other voices heard on the streets, but only under cover of darkness, shouting down with the dictator, down with Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
The entertainment world is in mourning tonight for actor James Van Der Beek.
I was very fortunate that I experienced a great deal of success.
Looking back at the career of the Dawson's Creek star, plus. We have more on the mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC, including what we know moment by moment of how this all unfolded. Stay with us. The mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge, BC is reverberating over at the Milano Cortina Olympics.
It's so sad to see what's happening, and as I said, our thoughts and prayers are with that, and it affects everybody. You know, this is sport, and we understand there's real life, and that trumps anything we're doing here. But all we can do is send our love, send our support, and then go about and do our jobs.
Team Canada issued a statement saying, "We're heartbroken by the news. Our thoughts are with the families who've lost loved ones and the entire Tumbler Ridge community." Now, turning to the Olympic competition now, Team Canada has a new bronze medal from figure skating pair Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier competing in ice dance. Briar Stewart shows us how the longtime skating partners made it to the podium moment.
As Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier started the routine, they had 4 minutes to try and hang on to a spot on the podium. The longtime partners glided across the ice. There were plenty of Canadian fans holding their breath and then erupting in cheers.
We came here wanting to have an Olympic moment. And, you know, not knowing scores at that time, we did it. God, I could relive just after the skate over and over again, because what a powerful moment.
But in a sport where the judging is often criticized and subjective scoring befuddles fans, this is always a tense moment.
What is it like sitting on the couch there waiting?
Oh, it's horrible.
And waiting.
I hate it. I hate it so much. You're so powerless.
But then came the scores and the elation. A bronze medal, the first in their careers. One of their coaches, Carol Lane, says the pair have overcome a number of hurdles, including when Gillis had to undergo surgery for a cancerous tumor.
15 years of resilience, of fighting, of disappointments, of successes, and so many things have led to this moment.
Taking home the bronze, Canada's 4th medal so far at these Olympics. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Milan.
Actor James Van Der Beek has died at the age of 48, just over a year after revealing a colorectal cancer diagnosis. Magda Gebrselassie looks back at his many roles and how he's being remembered beyond the screen.
He shot to fame as the fresh-faced lead on Dawson's Creek. James Van Der Beek's star power shone brightly for decades.
I was very fortunate that I experienced a great deal of success at age 20.
Beyond that breakout role, he starred in films like Varsity Blues, appeared in TV shows like Criminal Minds and How I Met Your Mother, and even danced and sang his way through TV competitions.
James Van Der Beek!
But in 2024, he would let the world in on a private battle he'd been fighting for more than a year.
I became one of the many, many millions of Americans and people around the world who found out I have cancer.
Van Der Beek had stage 3 colorectal cancer. He turned his focus to his health and family, and eventually he got back to work too, appearing in projects like the Sideline films.
He was one of the most generous cast members I'd ever worked with, and he served as a father figure to all of us.
In September, Van Der Beek had to pull out of a Dawson's Creek reunion in New York after contracting 2 stomach viruses. sending his love in this message.
I can't believe I don't get to hug my castmates, my beautiful cast in person.
In recent weeks on social media, he appeared upbeat, even making plans for the future.
I'm going to take the winter to recover, to rest, and I'm going to make New Year's resolutions in the spring.
But on Wednesday, his wife shared the news Beek died in the morning. She wrote he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. Online, actor Busy Phillips, who worked with him on Dawson's Creek, shared, "I'm just so sad. He was my friend, and I loved him." Beek leaves behind his wife and 6 children. The actor was 48 years old. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
Coming up, we'll return to our top story, the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge.
RCMP got in. We're telling everyone to put their hands up, and we were all escorted out of the building and sent towards the community center.
What we know about how it unfolded moment by moment, next.
I'm Stefan James. And I'm Shamir Anderson. This is the Legacy Lounge.
Each episode, we will sit down with a different visionary change maker who has made a huge impact on the culture.
Wes Hall.
My blackness is my superpower. Fifi Dawson.
And they were like, so what's your plan B? And I said, I don't have a plan B.
Amanda Brugel.
I'm not going to apologize and wanting more.
Basement Gang.
We're not afraid to be ourselves, and if we can help others be themselves, that's such a big thing.
The Legacy Lounge. Diving deeper into who we are. Because every legacy starts somewhere.
Her particular skill set can be helpful to us.
She's a con artist.
I feel you, honey.
Wild Cards. Stream now.
Back to our top story tonight. A small Rocky Mountain community shaken by violence. A teenager opened fire in a high school and a nearby home, killing 8 people and injuring dozens of others, 2 very seriously. Andrew Chang, host of About That, breaks down the crucial moments surrounding the deadly attack.
5 children, 1 adult killed at school. 1 child, 1 adult killed in a home. And the 18-year-old shooter dead, police say, by her own gun.
An individual confirmed to be the shooter was located deceased with what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
There are very few places in the entire country that have ever seen mass shooting violence like this.
How? How is this possible? In Tumbler Ridge? It's just completely unfathomable.
So in Tumbler Ridge, BC, tiny remote town, some 2,400 people living in the foothills of the Rockies. This was seismic, and for the first 24 hours, almost completely opaque.
It wouldn't be fair to speculate on that. We're still making those determinations. I think we will struggle to determine the why.
But now we know the suspected shooter, more about her history with police, more about her victims, and more about the sequence of events. Let's go through it.
The alarm went off that I've never heard before. And our principal goes throughout the halls and she's saying, people close your doors, lock down.
What we know of the story from the RCMP is that it starts at one end of town and ends at the other. We know the most about the ending. That's here, Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. Student population somewhere around 160. At around 1:20 p.m. Pacific time, police get a call.
RCMP received a report of an active shooter at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School.
An alert goes out, describing the shooter as a female suspect in a dress with brown hair. The standing order to the public, shelter in place. Because when police arrived, they themselves were immediately in danger.
Upon arrival, there was active gunfire, and as officers approached the school, rounds were fired in their direction.
From this point, we learned 3 important things from police. 1, they never shot back. The shooter appeared to kill herself at some point after police arrived. 2, there were casualties. More than 20 people with injuries, at least 2 of them life-threatening, and 6 people dead. 1 of them an educator at the school, the other 5 kids, some as young as 12.
Most of our victims are quite young. Most were born of the students, most were born 2013 and 2012.
Then the 3rd thing we learned, police also found guns, plural, a long gun and a modified pistol. Guns we would later learn the shooter may have had a license to use at one point, except at the time of the shooting, her license had already expired, at least a full year prior.
I believe it was in 2024. She did not have any firearms registered to her.
But I said earlier, the school, victims found in the hallway, in the library, this was the end of the story. Police say it started at some point earlier at this home right here, about a 2-kilometer drive away. This was where police would only later find 2 more bodies, those belonging to the shooter's mother and stepbrother.
We were called because a neighbor, there was a young female at that home that went to the neighbors, and that's how we learned that there were 2 deceased at that residence. So the neighbor called the police.
Besides the fact that the shooting rampage started in the family's home, then moved to and ended at the local high school, we know from the RCMP a few more things about the shooter. Like I said at the start, 18 years old. Her name was Jessie Van Rootselaar. Female, but apparently born as a biological male. Began transitioning about 6 years ago. Had a history of mental health issues.
Police had attended that residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with concerns of mental health with respect to our suspect. I can say that on different occasions, the suspect was apprehended for assessment and follow-up. Concerns regarding mental health, self-harm.
Police would even go so far as to say some of those concerns involved guns.
Police have attended that residence in the past, approximately a couple of years ago, where firearms were seized under the criminal code. I can say that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for those firearms to be returned, and they were.
People will look at like guns, repeated mental health visits. This should have been a red flag. How do you process those?
Well, the big question is red flagged up to a certain point, and how many red flags do you need to act? And because you have to bear in mind that the RCMP has to operate within a certain legal framework.
But what police have already admitted they may struggle to figure out is, in all of this, the why.
There's going to be a lot of legwork that will need to be done by investigators on the ground to try to determine whether or not there were signals, there were flags that should have been picked on and were not.
They did say there didn't appear to be any specific targeting of any specific students at the school, but that may change as police learn more. And they pointed out the shooter wasn't even a current student at that school. She dropped out of school around 4 years ago. So on the crucial question of motive, a real mystery, what drives someone to open fire at a school they don't attend? Police don't know.
On the heels of such horrific violence, one thing is very clear. The people of Tumbler Ridge have a long and very difficult journey ahead of them. But if the gentleness, the compassion, and the resilience we've all seen over the past 24 hours is any indication, they seem well prepared to walk that path together.
There's a lot of people hurting in this town right now. It's a situation where we don't understand why. This is Sleepy Hollow. My wife calls it the cookie cutter town.
People are still trying to understand what happened. You know, and the next stage will be grief.
The community is gonna come together. We're gonna grieve together.
Knowing that there are parents out there that their kids are not coming home tears at me. It's unimaginable.
The reality of it all is definitely starting to set in once the numbers were revealed. And I'm just sticking close to family.
We're all going to have to come together as a community to heal, you know, our students, our first responders, our teachers, our parents. They've gone through this incredibly tragic event that we're going to have to live with the rest of their lives.
Yesterday at this time, my world was just moving right along, and today it's upside down.
We just all need to work together as the close community that we are and make sure that everyone affected by this tragedy today gets the proper help and support that they need to keep on moving.
I guess maybe that's very much part of my character, that I believe that that things will get better. We will miss those who are gone from us, but I think that Tumbler Ridge will come back stronger because of this.
And as a last thought, I just want to give you an update from the news conference we witnessed with the Premier. The community is rallying around a 12-year-old named Maya, who's in hospital. They said she's clinging to life, and they're all wishing good things for her. The mine, which employs 1,000 people, has closed to allow employees and families to be together. There has been lots of praise for how quickly all levels of government rushed to get supports there, and a plea for now, for some time and patience and space for grieving, with an understanding that in time, answers to some of the big questions will come. From all of us at The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault in Toronto. Take care.